What's up, everybody? Good morning.
Good morning. Now, Watson, I see you on the late night sit last night, bro. I see you, Daddy.
Hey, Ryan, thanks for the shout out. Appreciate it, buddy. No, seriously, dude, she had things with her kids. Like she had to feed them. I could hear them screaming in the background. So I was like, why don't you just take 40 minutes? So our 7 went to 8 to start, right? So, and then there was all kinds of issues with actually getting her on the Zoom with her technology. But dude, yeah, we got there. Got there eventually. Great job yourself yesterday, bud.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate that. Yeah, I saw he was on there late. I'm like, dude, I was asleep.
Well, yeah, I'm in Central too, so I'm an hour behind you.
What's up, Matt?
What's up, Bryke? Be safe out there, buddy. Hi, Christina.
Hey, guys.
Great job yesterday.
Thanks. You too, Matt.
Oof, trying.
Good morning. Let's see if I can hear this.
All right, guys. Hey, it's 8 o'clock. Our guest speaker for today is taking some time out of their very busy schedule, and they should be hopping on the phone and on the Zoom call here any second now. So I'm going to wait for them to hop on, and I'll give them a brief introduction, and we'll go ahead and get this party started today. Well, looks like everybody got the party started yesterday, man. We had a great day yesterday. Yes. Hello? He's in. All right. Let me find him on the screen real quick.
Second column, third one down.
All right. Hold on. We got to find him. There we go. Okay. All right. All right, guys. So we are off to the races as of yesterday, and we got to start today off with some fire and some juice. And I told you guys we had somebody special, and now you probably see who it is. Guys, today we have Albie Serur from the Serur agencies. Albie started with us, with our agency, and I got the privilege of working with him. We opened up multiple offices together. We traveled all around. We literally, he started out. I want to tell you a quick story about Albie. I want everybody to imagine this real quick, and then I'll pass it over to Albie. Well, just imagine this. Some of us are in your first, I see a lot of people who are in our first few months in the business, some of us right now, right? Some of us are in our first year in the business. And you're looking at a gentleman that was about 3 to 4 months into the business, 3 to 4 months with his brand new career. And he was living in Pittsburgh away from his family. His family lived in New York. And the doctors pulled him in. He was having some trouble, and he had to have open heart surgery. I want you guys to just think about that for a second. He went back to New York City with his family, recouped faster than anybody. They told him he wouldn't be able to work for 3 to 6 months. He was back in Pittsburgh in 2 months. He's from New York City. I don't know who from New York City in their right mind wants to move back to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Okay, on top of that. And he had every excuse, every reason. Nobody ever would even have said a word to him if he would have just, took a long time to get better and even just decided to stay back in Pittsburgh. And this guy came back bigger, badder, and better than ever. And one of the biggest things about Albie is, if you ever met him, you know that he has just a huge heart and a huge personality. And it's just not a coincidence. I'm not saying that as like because he had heart surgery, that he has a big heart as well. But it's the truth. And I just couldn't think of anybody better to have one to call for us today to spark our week off. His agency's on absolute fire right now, on absolute fire. And for the last 4 years, he's been on the executive council for Globe Life. Globe Life is the largest life insurance company in the United States. We have more policyholders than any other company out there. And he sits on their executive council, guys. So I could go on and on and on. He's been on stage with American Income Life as the top SGA multiple times. The last time that we had convention together in Vegas, we shared the stage together. I'm going to post the picture in the group of me and Albie from convention. We are both holding our trophies. And guys, the goal this year is we're going to be back on that stage, of course. And Albie will be back on that stage as well. And we'll be seeing him in convention next year. And those of you that are going to convention this year, you're going to get to meet Albie as well. But let's welcome him to the call this morning, guys. Thank you, Albie, for taking some time for us, man. We appreciate you.
I was going to say, Tommy, damn, you're really just trying to get me blushing first thing in the morning, huh? That's it. Cheeks are already red. I haven't even started screaming yet. All right. So first things first, what I want you guys all to know is everything you said. Yeah, it's true. I mean, there's no matter what, anybody who's on a path where they really want success, you're going to have to go through a lot of adversity. There's going to be roadblocks and obstacles, but what always makes it easier to get through those darker times is having good mentorship. So One thing I want you guys to know, because it is important to know this, and no, I'm not just saying it because he's your SGA, but I really dedicate a lot of my success to not just things that I learned professionally, but things I learned personally about certain habits, behaviors, character growth that I needed to allow myself to start associating myself with success in the first place. And I gained a lot of that knowledge and information from Tommy. You know, so I think it's so important to tell you guys that, because in this business, you know, not everybody, as horrible as it sounds, not everybody gets the opportunity to start with great parents, you know, in the business. And it's the kind of thing where you guys are part of a really successful lineage. So that's something that definitely has a lot of value. And, you know, when you stand on the shoulders of giants, I mean, there's really nothing that you can't accomplish. But when Tommy Vina asked me to speak this week, I felt pretty good about it, because, you know, he didn't choose me for Monday. He didn't choose me for Wednesday. He didn't choose me for Thursday, you know? So it's the kind of thing where for me to open up one of your biggest weeks of all time, actually, it's going to be biggest week to date on 420. You know, I know that this is definitely going to be a week that's going to be special. So, you know, what I do want to say is you guys came out the gates. I think 420 is a day most people want to be lazy. And this is going to be a week that really 2 years in a row, you guys are breaking records. So when we hear about what you guys did last year, I know last year at this time, you guys dropped 100,000. That really put your name on the map. That was a way for the company to know that you guys were serious. You meant business. This wasn't just another agency that talked the talk. You guys came here to deliver. And, you know, everybody, that was the shot the week heard around the world. You know, everybody was talking about it. But to double up within 12 months, that really sets a tone. That lets people know, hey, this wasn't a one-hit wonder. We're not just coming to get some results and then we're going to fall off the face of the earth because we lack discipline and character, right? This week, you guys are going to be dropping 200,000, doubling up that huge week that you guys set the world on fire with originally. You know, love seeing you guys winning in the spotlight every single month. Love seeing how many of you choose to step up in contest time. My only wish is that we had more cameras on. So those of you with cameras on today, I know you guys are going to rock this shit. You guys are focused. You're here. You already got your field clothes on. You're ready for war. Some of you guys, I know if you turn your camera on, there's crusties in your eyes and you're still laying up in bed cuddling with the pup. All right. So this isn't a call out, but let's be real. You got to know what kind of mindset you're planning to have on a week like this. Right? So what kind of energy are you going to bring to the table? So many people talk about doing something different. They like to say out loud the numbers that they're going to do, but then they come into the week with the same attitude, the same habits, the same behaviors. And then they're like, yeah, I don't know what happened. Of course, you know what happened. You did nothing different, right? If you want to get different results, if you want to have growth, then you got to be willing to make adjustments and do things that you don't typically do. That's the only way to get yourself to the next level. But, what it is that I wanted to do today with you guys, and you know, and if I'm in your shoes, what I would be doing, it's not because I'm speaking, but in general, I would take a couple of notes, write these things down, because what I'll tell you is what helped me a lot as an MGA and what helped me a lot as an SGA was I had over 6,000 pages of notes from Simon and Tommy, from Matt, all the cats at you know, Arias agencies. So within my 4-year career there, I'd written 6,000 notes on my iPhone. And those notes really helped me in my first couple of years as an SGA and really helped me throughout my MGA shift. So there's going to be a point in time where you need to pull information and you can hear something and you could like how it sounds, you know, and it can act like a coffee and wake you up one morning. But if you're not planning to implement it or utilize it in the future, then it's just wasted information. Does that make sense, guys? All right. So the first thing I want to talk about, and you'll hear a common trend, whether it's me, Tommy Vina, a lot of the other top guys in the company, what you're going to hear is that we tend to talk a lot about mindset. You got to prime your mind for success here. So the first thing I want to go over with you guys as far as a 1 week mentality is understanding the fact that you can't act success consistently until you think success, right? You can't act success consistently until you think success. So what do I mean by thinking success? Well, what it comes down to is you have to develop your own beliefs. You got to develop your own beliefs. So what I mean by developing your own beliefs is a lot of people live life thinking that they're a product of their environment. what we got to do in this business, and if you really want to have full control of where it is you're going in life, you got to make your environment a product of you. Now, at some point, we're all pre-programmed from childhood. So all of our lives, we start as products. And that's from that mental programming from childhood. Maybe it's parents that you had, teachers, coaches, maybe something in religion, friends that you had. I know I learned a lot throughout growing up from my own adversity, my successes, my failures, and then all those things become the primary builders of your early belief systems. But the problem is that so many of us make decisions for the rest of our lives based on belief systems that somebody else instilled into us when we were kids. So we're making all of our decisions based on things that other people taught us. And the problem is, it turns out that a lot of the time, the people that mentor us throughout parts in our life had their own limited set self-belief systems. So because they had their own limited beliefs, they would then in turn develop us to have limited beliefs. So what do I mean by limiting beliefs? So limiting beliefs are having a mindset that's more about survival than it is about success. It's about avoiding pain at all costs. It's about taking the safer path in life, even if it means less possible prosperity, right? It's having a playing not to lose rather than playing to win mindset. So a lot of times we're taught all this information. It's the same reason why somebody might say, oh, I tried sales in high school and I wasn't good at it, and that's why I'm not going to be good at this company, right? It's the same reason why I almost didn't take the job when I first got hired here, because I was afraid to speak to one or two union members and present. I thought presenting would be really hard for me. I wasn't good at public speaking, right? What we don't realize is these limited self-beliefs, this lack of confidence that we have in our own abilities, that's the major key reason why so many people with talent don't do anything special with their lives. It's not because the talent wasn't there. It's not because they weren't capable. It's because they talked themselves out of success, right? They let things that were put in their mind growing up become facts for the rest of their livelihoods. If I didn't take a position with this company and actually challenge myself, if I allowed myself to stay believing what I thought was my belief system at that point in time, then I would have missed out on some of the biggest strengths that I bring to the table that just had never had a chance to develop yet, right? Sometimes you got to just walk through that door, even if it's scary. So a big thing, guys, is we got to learn how to reprogram our minds. So if you want to be a top performer, a big part of it is you got to be able to question everything you've been taught. You got to question the thinking that you're brought up on. You got to start paying attention to the things that you say out loud that aren't facts, that are really just your own opinions that you're making sound like facts. Like, I'm not good at referrals. I'm not good at math. I don't have what it takes to do well in sales. All the time we like to tell ourselves the things that we can't. Everybody can be negative. What's tough is to motivate yourself to stay positive and focus on the things that you can do. But the only way that you can is because you think you can. So I can't stress enough. That's one of the oldest quotes. I think it's like written by unknown. Nobody knows who first said it, but you can because you think you can. If you don't, it's not about your size. It's not about your strength. It's not about your intelligence. What it comes down to more than anything, if you want to be a top performer, it's about your belief in what you will accomplish. I'm a big believer that self-doubt starves success habits. As soon as you start doubting what it is that you can do, you've already lost the battle. So a big thing to do is focus on what it is that you want to accomplish and what kind of belief system you need to have in order to have that type of success. What can't you say to yourself anymore? In time, as you continue to focus on the things that you want to believe in, you're going to slowly start to believe those things, right? It takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. But your new behaviors become products of your new beliefs. Tony Robbins talks about this a lot. Everybody hears TFR, thoughts lead to feelings, feelings lead to your response, right? But the part that people don't always see in the equation that he talks about a lot is our past conditioning leads to our thoughts lead to our feelings, and our feelings lead to our response. So what happens is, based on that pre-programming is really how we make a lot of our decisions. What's cool about this business is it really tests you. It forces you to stretch yourself thin and see what you're made of. It forces you to take on challenges and understand that, listen, if you have big dreams, there's going to be big devils. There's going to be obstacles. There's going to be things that come up in your path that you got to fight through. There's going to be some dark days to get those really great days. So the first thing, guys, again, is challenge that belief system. Nobody should tell you how you should live. It's up to you to figure out what it is that you want, and you have every ability to get there. You can't tell yourself otherwise, or else you're right. Number two, to really make this week happen, there's no way around it. You can't shortcut sacrifice. It's going to take sacrifice. And if you want to achieve something significant in your life, then you're going to have to give up the things that conflict with it. So this doesn't mean that you got to make your life miserable. It just means that you can't have it all. You got to sacrifice something that you value less than whatever it is you ultimately want to achieve. You know, so for example, you're going to have to sacrifice a little bit of comfort this week to have your best week. You're going to have to sacrifice some comfort for the next year if you want to be a top MGA and be able to have, you know, huge future results from that point forward. A big thing to understand, guys, is sacrifice is a choice. You know, it's a choice. Not hitting snooze is the sacrifice of more sleep. That's still a choice, right? Being on camera right now, that's a choice. Being up and ready to rock out your day, that's a choice. You know, rolling a 9 o'clock at night referral virtually, and you know, that's the choice of choosing to do that over relaxing after a field day and going to bed early. But when it comes down to sacrifice, the key to sacrifice is having discipline. You got to be disciplined enough to make that proper choice and sacrifice. A big thing to understand, and I think this is something that we don't always do properly, but it's understanding that sacrifice does not always have instant gratification. That's one of the toughest things to it is you might have to sacrifice for the next 90 days. And then after 3 months, boom, all of a sudden things are going to click and you're going to start getting great results. You know, it's just like if you want to get in shape, you can't just sacrifice $50 for a gym membership, swipe your card once and walk out with a six pack. You got to change your eating habits, your sleeping habits. You got to actually go there, work out, track your progress. You know, there's a bunch of different areas that involve labor and hard work and sweat equity that as you're making those sacrifices, as time goes on, that compounding interest kicks in and you start seeing results from those sacrifices, but it doesn't happen overnight. But what I'll tell you is this, if you're gonna sacrifice, do it right. So when I say do it right, what I'm saying is this, you know, just to be as real as possible, I'm on the people on this call right now, we got 30 of you on here. You know, some of you are probably averaging double-digit hits every single week. Some of you are probably struggling with 4 or 5, maybe 6 presentations a week. And those of you that are getting 6 hits a week, you may be working as many hours as the person that's getting double-digit hits. So the key to sacrifice is don't half-ass it. If you're going to put in the hours, make sure you're going to get a return on it. You know, what I'll tell you is I remember, I think it was my 3rd or 4th week with the company. My first few weeks, I was hot coming out the gates, doing really well. And then I hit a dry spell. And I remember I called Tommy after a day where, I mean, I went like 0 for 4. I got beat up all across the board, you know, probably put like 200 miles in the car. So I call him up and, you know, I'm telling him about, you know, I feel like I'm working so hard and I'm not getting a return on it, you know, and then he made an interesting point to me. What he brought up was, you know, Albie, let me ask you a question. If today went differently, if you know, the last time that you went out in the field, I remember in your 3rd week here, you wrote 3,000 in a day. You know, did you work the same hours that day as today? And I said, yeah, definitely. And he was like, at the end of that day, did it feel like you worked hard? And I was like, honestly, no. You know, I was too high off the sales, right? I felt great. He goes, exactly. You know, sacrifice only hurts if you don't get the return from it. You know, that's the key to it, is understanding that a lot of it is mental. We get into our own heads, but there's no difference between the good days and the bad days. It's all about our response to it. So what I'll tell you is this, when you put in the effort properly and you start getting the right rewards more consistently, that sacrifice you're putting in right now that you feel, it starts to dissipate. You start to enjoy the fact that you gave something up to get results, right? It starts to feel good that you rose to the challenge and you ended up getting the solutions that you were looking for. So again, guys, when it comes to sacrifice, just understand that you're going to have to give up to go up. You're going to have to give a little bit more in the front end than you receive immediately, but in turn, you're going to get a lot more back in the back end. So on that note, third thing I want to talk to you guys about is staying focused on long-term goals, right? Staying focused on your long-term goals. I think this is the biggest difference between entrepreneurs and employees. So, and it goes hand in hand with what we were just talking about, but the difference between it to me is most people are engaged in microwave thinking. So microwave thinking is this belief that results should immediately follow any effort, right? It's the same thing as trading time for money, right? But the reality is when we look at successful athletes or performers, typically what happens is it takes years of hard work for them to become an overnight celebrity. They become champions by focusing on the right habits until other people call them champions. That's typically the way that it works. The championship is a symptom of doing the small things right. So by focusing on the right habits, sooner or later, they become champions. And what ends up happening is a lot of the greats at some points in their careers or their lives, or, if it's sports, same thing, sooner or later, at some point growing up, they were ridiculed at times and criticized for the amount of time and effort that they were putting into their craft, before they made it, before they started making the big money. But the difference between them and average players is rather than being swayed by amateur opinions, they stayed pushing forward aggressively. And that delayed gratification set the stage for all their future accomplishment. So what it comes down to is, again, guys, if you set a big goal, you need to expect a big fight. If you want to write 20,000 this week, you're going to have to go to war. It's not going to be easy. And with time, with this delayed gratification mentality where you appreciate the fact that things that are worth it don't come overnight, you're going to start to precondition your mind for battle. And the obstacles that you face on that path, they're not going to matter as much anymore. They're not going to surprise you as much anymore. So understanding that amateurs expect immediate fruit from their labors, but what the greats do is they understand that things that are worth having are going to take time. You got to rep that skill set, and a huge thing to understand is if you're focused more on what you're going to get rather than what you're giving, that's not the right mindset to have if your goal is to master a skill set. If you really want to hone in on your craft and have high levels of accomplishment here, the way that that's going to happen is by obsessing over your habits, over what it is that you should be doing, and knowing that the immediate fruits of your labor, that's just going to be a reward that comes from doing the small things right, having those daily disciplines, rather than putting all your time, energy, and effort into thinking about income, right? Money's a symptom. That's what it comes down to. It's a symptom of doing the small things right. What you don't want to do is get into the habit of focusing on problems, expecting that to solve problems. Does that make sense? All right, last couple things. Learn to operate from objective reality. I think this one is so important, especially in virtual, because now that we're virtual, I got some people in my agency, my top producer last week, he wrote 25,200, had 32 sits. 30 of those sits came from referrals, right? That's effort. That's hustle. The problem is he probably worked the same hours as some of the other people in my agency that got 6 sits. So when we talk about objective reality, what that means is most people suffer from delusions in relation to their effort and knowledge. They convince themselves into thinking that they're working harder than they are, and they convince themselves into thinking that they actually know more than they do. It's the symptom of somebody fresh out of training class where you have the assumption that 2 weeks of training is enough for you to master the skill set that's going to take you to retirement. Obviously we're learning more things every day. And one thing I'll tell you about myself even is the more I learn, something that's humbling is that the more that I acquire knowledge, the more I learn, the more I realize that I don't know yet. It's a humbling thing. So a big thing, guys, is the reason why they say it's harder to go from good to great than poverty to great is because when you're in a point of pain, when you're in poverty, you're forced to make a stand. When things are okay, it's easy to justify the level of effort you're currently putting in, right? It's easy to not focus on what it's going to take to get you to the next level. People that are good, no great as possible but they don't expect to get there, or they're unwilling to pay the price for that level of success. So what our brains typically do to protect ourselves, because, you know, we hate failure. That's just the way that we are as people. The brain tries to protect itself where if that's one of your issues, you either don't expect to have high levels of success or you're not willing to pay the price for it. Your brain's going to tell you that you're doing everything you can to be successful and that it's just not working. Right? It's going to start tricking you. It's going to lie to you a little bit. But the reality is, guys, it's always in your head. Everything about this business comes down to habits and mindset. So what we can't let ourselves do is lie to ourselves and convince ourselves we're doing everything possible. I don't care what your past career was. There is nobody on this call who's not capable of double-digit hits a week. There's nobody on this call that's not capable of it, right? That's a very simple skill set. Are you putting the pressure on learning how to collect and roll referrals? And how good are you on the phones now that we're virtual? You know, that's all it comes down to. If we're repping that part of the process properly, then we're going to have traction and growth in that part of our game. So bottom line, guys, what we can't allow ourselves to do is get into the habit of convincing ourselves out of success. It's about understanding what are the right habits to have. Top players have habits, actions, and behaviors that are in complete congruence with the size and scope of their vision. So you got to know what it is you want to accomplish, and you got to map out a true game plan to actually make that happen. You got to believe in it, and then let your belief systems start transforming and taking you to that promised land. You know, and last thing before we close out, nothing this week can add more power to your life than concentrating all of your energies on a limited set of targets. Nothing can add more power to your life than concentrating all your energy on a limited set of targets. You can't get better at all parts of your game this week. But the key is this: if there was one or two things that you need to get better at, what are you doing about it? So if I'm somebody that noticed in the last 2 weeks, maybe my referral game wasn't great or my contact to book ratio wasn't the best, then what I would be doing is for an hour every morning before I start my day in the field, I would be role playing those parts of my business. I would just be practicing it, getting the words warm. That way I'm not practicing live on my first client of the day, and some of us are only getting that one sit and blowing it because we were rusty going into it. You know, so again, guys, know what your targets are. What are your targets this month? What are your targets this week? You know, 200K as an agency, let's break it down by day. So I don't know how many total people we got, but you know, right now it looks like you guys want to do roughly 30,000 a day in production. So that means for everybody that was willing to join us today, that means that we need at least an $86 check from every single person on this call. My mindset when I was in the field was I always tricked my brain. It's 2K a day or bust. That was it, 2K a day or bust. And every time I made a sale, I would tell myself I'm back at zero. That way I would have to have urgency and go into that 8 to 9 o'clock slot, almost in a panic with so much energy to make sure I found a sale, right? But that's the mindset you're going to need to have high levels of success this week. You got to trick your brain. 2K a day or bust. Stay driven. Don't let yourself hit cruise control after you get a sale for the day. That's the best time to make another sale. You just got warmed up. You know, don't get full belly syndrome early on in the week. So with that said, guys, I'm excited to see what you do this week. Let's make history, 200,000. That's all I got. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Albie. Thank you. Albie is going to be in Las Vegas here in 2 days, and he'll be on stage, and he'll be accepting an award at the awards ceremony, which we'll be able to watch. It's Saturday, right, Albie? Saturday?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, Saturday. He don't even know. He's just going to Vegas. But listen, this guy has been a millionaire over and over multiple times again. And he's running his own agency. So to take the time out of the day this morning to pour into us, man, we appreciate it. And we won't let you down. Let's bring it today, guys. I'll talk to y'all soon.
Let's go.
Albie, good to see you.
Woo! You too, big dog. Later.
Proud of you, man.
Thank you.
He had Albie.